Hey my friend, it's Dirk. In this lesson, let's talk about how Firebase works and how to integrate Firebase as your app backend. We talk everything about Firebase, that even go farther than this course because I know that you will love Firebase and want to use Firebase as your app backend. And please know that there's no way that I'm affiliated with Firebase or I work with them. It's just that I love the service that is so incredibly inexpensive to use when you go and scale your app, because literally Snapchat uses Google services. And number two is that I have been using Firebase for multiple of my project and clients works, so I love it, and it's very incredibly cheap to use and very simple and very scalable, has all the features that we need. So I hope that you enjoy this. We'll talk about number one, how Firebase works, how to integrate it to your app. Number two is how data structure is structured. Number three, we'll test it out, how to upload some data and save some data to Firebase. So let's go into the demo. Let's open up your browser. You can open up Chrome or Safari, any kind of browser. Here I'm using Chrome, and goes into firebase.google.com. Now from the domain name, you know that it is a Google service. Google just acquired it last year, I believe, and it's awesome. So all you have to do is go ahead and sign up for a free account, and then you can go to your console like this. Okay, I'm open up my console, and then let's open up a new project. I'm going to add a new project here, and let's name the project something like email authentication. Okay, and then I'm going to create a new project like this. Now I'm going to go over very fast how the data structure is like, because we are going to talk a little bit about how we can save the user's data once the user sign up for the account, right? And then we'll talk mostly about the authentication part of our app. So here we go. This is your new Firebase project. Now in Firebase, it is structured into different projects, and then each project will has like a database. This is real-time database. It means that if you have some new data here, every single app client of yours will have the data synchronized immediately. And then it has storage, which is the place where you can store images, videos, or any files at all that is very big. And then you have hosting, which is you can host your all websites or web apps right here. And then you have functions, which is you can run your backend code, and then without managing your servers. That is the most important part. And then you have all of the other services. And by the way, I'm not affiliated with Firebase. It's just I love this one. It's very convenient. It's incredibly inexpensive when you go big. And by big, I means like the Snapchat level of millions and millions of users. It's that good, because this is Google service, right? So we have all the power that Google has, or a part of that in this service. Now, for every Firebase project, you can use as many iOS or Android or web applications as you want. So it means that you can share one Firebase database here with your iOS app, with Android app, or with your web app client. It's that good. So let's go ahead, click into your iOS application, and then I'm going over my Xcode project here, and then copy and paste this bundle identifier over here. Remember that you have to copy paste that, and then you copy paste here, and then the app nickname here and the App Store ID, it is optional. So whenever you publish your app into a production product, then you can copy paste it over here. And then I'm going to register my app like this. Now once I register my app, it will give me a plist, which stands for property list. All it means is that it is a dictionary with strings and arrays and those kind of stuff, and it has some configuration of the Google service. So let's go ahead and download this thing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and download that, and then I'm going to drag out that Google service plist. You see that in your download folder? drag it into your Xcode project inside the project like this, and then release it and copy items if needed, create folder references, and click finish like this. Okay, now pay really close attention because you have to keep this file really secret, especially for your production app, because this file, it contains all of the things that any Xcode project that needs to access to your Firebase database. It means that it has the client ID, it has the API key, it has the Google App ID, it has the database URL, and it has the secret key, all of those things, so you don't have to set up those things up in code. Rather than you can use that directly from the Firebase SDK. Okay? So keep that a secret. And by the way, don't use mine because this account is a demo account. So if you guys use that a lot, they will just pause the account, I guess. Okay. Next thing, step number 3, you have to add the Firebase SDK into your project. Now, we are going to use CocoaPods, which is a dependency management tool for iOS project. So all you have to do is go ahead, open up your terminal. So I'm going to command space, open up Spotlight, and then click terminal like this, enter, okay? And then I'm going to, let me increase this text so that you can see it better, like this, cool? And then I'm going to cd, it means that change directory. All it means is that, here we go, I am in my default location. Oops, gosh, let me clear this. cd meaning that I changed the directory. I'm currently in my user folder right here, and then I'm going to drag out this Xcode project, this Xcode icon, into the terminal like this. Okay, and then you notice that this is a URL, or this is the file path to our Xcode project. All you have to do is now I'm going to delete this last file here. So all it means is that I'm going to go only to the folder of this Xcode project. I know for some of you already know that, right? So all it means is that I'm going to go into this folder right here in your file finder. Okay, press enter like this. And then to make sure that we are right there, let's do a ls, meaning that, hey, list all of the files in that folder for me. So we have all of these things. If you have exactly this thing, then it should work. Cool? Next thing, I'm going to use, now, by the way, if you don't have, oops, sorry, it's my Spotify. If you don't have CocoaPods yet, all you have to do is go to cocoapods.org like this, okay? And then go ahead and have an install, and then all you have to do is copy paste this line of code. Don't have this $, just this guy. Sudo gem install CocoaPods, okay? So that you can have CocoaPods install. Cool? Okay, now I'm going to do a pod init. It means that, hey, initialize for me a pod file. And what is the pod file? Now a pod file is all it means is that it is a text file that allows us to have all the dependencies inside that. Okay, so I'm going to my folder right here, and then you'll see that there's a pod file. There's no extension because it is, I believe that is in Ruby code. So you have to drag this thing to your Xcode project so you can edit that, and then finish like this. Okay, click into the pod file, and then I'm going to delete this # or this hashtag sign. That is a comment in the pod file. And then also let's delete, copy paste this use frameworks, cut that above the target. Okay, so this use frameworks, it means that, hey, I'm going to use a Swift project here, and then we're going to delete this line. Let's delete this line over here. Okay, and then I'm going to have a tab # a comment Firebase SDK like this. Okay, and then let's use pod Firebase like that, and then pod Firebase / database like this. Okay, so just typing it in, and then I will explain it for you. Next thing, let's use pod Firebase / auth, and lastly use pod Firebase / storage. and you have to pay attention to the spelling, okay? And then let's move it to the right like this. Now, all it means is that, hey, I want to have the part which is a dependency, which is the kind of like a third-party library, okay, a framework. Hey, I want to use Firebase, the standard SDK, software development kit of Firebase. And then, hey, I want to use the database SDK of the Firebase. Okay, and then we use the authentication and we use the storage. And if you go into your Firebase dashboard over here, you will see that we don't need that thing. I will show you that thing. Okay, let's close this thing. You'll see that, hey, we have the authentication, which is that guy over here. See that? Let me go like this. Okay, we have the authentication, which is this guy. And then we have database, which is this guy. And then we have storage, this guy. And we have the Firebase, which is like the analytics, those kind of things. Cool? Alright, so now the last step to install CocoaPod is, install Firebase in CocoaPod is, you have to do is pod I believe it's pod install, like this. Okay? Now if you download my CocoaPod from or the complete project, maybe you have to do pod update. Okay, so meaning that you go to directory like this, and then instead of pod install, just have to pod update. Okay, so maybe it will take a while now. So I'm going to pause this video, and then I'll come back with you when this download is done. All right, so I have my CocoaPods for Firebase all downloaded and all installed. If you have it correctly, it will be something like this. And depending on the time that you watch this training, it will have different kinds of different version numbers. But I think that it should be working right now. Okay, now let's go back into your Xcode project and then close this guy. Okay, and then if you see that CocoaPod said that please close any current Xcode sessions, use this workspace for this project from now on. So let's go ahead, goes to your project folder, and then you will see this XC workspace, the Y icon, not the blue usual one. Okay, click into the Y icon, and then you'll find this. And then let me choose the simulator, and then we use that. Okay, so now the next step is goes into your app delegate. And then I'm going to delete all of these things. And let me make sure that we have the code presentation. No, presentation large. Here we go. Okay, now let me import Firebase into our project right here, into our app delegate. And then to set up Firebase for our Xcode, all you have to do is fir app.configure like this. Okay, and then run the app. Once you run the app, let me open up my simulator. Once you run the app, you'll find down all the information into your console. So here we go, the simulator. So this is the app, how it looks like right now. And then you find out in the simulator, it says something like FIR instance app delegate proxy enabled, those kind of things. And then we have Firebase Analytics started. It means that your Firebase works now. So let me spend just a moment, and then we'll talk about how Firebase works. Okay, the basic ideas of Firebase. It's simply at its core, the very basic function of it is a database. It has a database, and then if you open up your database, you find out that there's something weird thing like this. Now, when we have this thing, what we have right here is something Firebase called real-time database. It means that when you have some new data here, okay, you see that real-time across all connected clients. It means that when you have some new data here, any clients, any apps that is connected to this database can have synchronized data immediately in real time, like immediately, that fast. Okay, of course there's still some delay. It's because it is data traveled around the internet, right? So it's physically data, some bits and bytes, some zeros and ones travel around the fibers of the internet, of the web. So it still has some delay, but it's very, very minimum. Cool. All right, Now let's talk about one concept of Firebase database that I believe that a lot of people, when we especially personally, when I first started to learn about Firebase and research about this, it's trouble. It's hard to think about this thing. That is a database reference or any kind of reference in Firebase. Now, database reference in Firebase, it all means is that a pointer or an address to some data in your database. So if you look at the URL that we have right here, okay, this is the base URL of our Firebase database, or we call it the base reference. The base reference, and then maybe let me open up a note here. Okay. Oops. Let me open up something like this. Let's have an empty file like this. Okay, and then let's have somewhere over here, and then let's have data.json. Okay, don't worry, you don't have to do along with me. I just want to explain to you how the database work. So now, let's say in your database later on, we want to store our user information. Okay, so I'm going to click over this plus button, and then we have the name value. That exactly like a dictionary in Swift, isn't it? It has key value pairs. So the name here is the key, and then the values is over here. So the name has always have to be a string. The value can be a number, can be a double, can be an int, can be a floating point number, can be true or false, can be an array, can be a dictionary. Okay, it's now if you look at further, this thing, the data in Firebase is actually structured in JSON format. If you don't know about JSON, it all stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It means that like if you have all of your class, for example, you have a class called users, right? And then it has the key value pairs for your dictionary, then that is JSON. Pretty much it is a Swift dictionary into text format. Pretty much that is it. Okay, now let's say I have the name over here. Let's click the plus over here, and then the first one is something like UID number 1, and then I'm going to click the plus one. So it means that we have the values is the users, the key, right? The user goes down that key. We have the UID number 1. So let's say this is UID of Dick Chuan, my UID. And then over here I have the name. So let's say I want to store my user information. I want to use, what is my username? And then we have over here is my username, something like Dick Chuan, right? And then I can have another one. Maybe we have the profile picture URL of my user. The things is like HTTPS, www, something, right? And then we have another key, something like, how about the website of the user, right? So we have diction.cl. And then how about we have something like the, don't store your password here, okay? And actually, you don't got to know about the password, so don't store it over here. So you get the idea, right? So we store the user's information over here, or any kind of data over here. And then let's click the add, okay? So now, let's say I want to get access to this data. So we have something like the base database, right? The base reference. So I'm going to copy paste this guy like this, okay? And then how about I want to get access to my username? So all I have to do is goes down this chain from our root reference, and then goes into the users, and then go into the UID 1, and then goes into the key of this dictionary. So all it means is that this thing, this whole database is a dictionary. Inside that dictionary is another dictionary. Inside that dictionary is another dictionary. And inside here is a key value pair, right? If I want this thing is a dictionary, I can do that too. But here it is a key value pair. So if you want to have the username, I'm going to have to go into the root database, and then we have the reference. Now this is the reference, right? The root reference. I'm going to add another child. Okay, so we have the reference. So from the reference, we have the root reference. Pay really close attention. I know this is kind of like abstract right now, but in the next section, when we code our database, it will become everything will become code for you and will be really easy for you. But don't skip this. It's everything, because a lot of people will quit off Firebase just because of this reference thing. So please pay attention, okay? And then from the root reference, we will add into that the child node or the child into the reference, okay? So I'm going to add the child here is the users. The user is kind of like a child of this root reference, right? So we have the users, just like a URL in your browser. And then we have this UID1 Duquan. So UID1 Duquan. And then I want to know the username, right? So slash username, like this, okay? So all it is that this is kind of like you access to your database if you know about web development in in a real database from web development. Cool? So now let's code just a line to make sure that you get this thing in, and then we have some coding in. Okay? So let's open up your app delegate. In your app definition launching with options, it means that this method will get called the first time when you launch the app. After the FIR configure, I'm going to typing in FIR database, meaning that I want to use the database like this, okay? And then we're going to call .reference. Now this reference will give me the root reference to my database, Firebase real-time database. And then I'm going to call something like .child, okay? And then we can add another child into the database. So here, how about I want to add let's say I want to add users like this, okay? And then I want to add something like another set value like this, okay? Maybe not, so let me have users and then slash, how about UID2 and how about Tracy like this, okay? So it means that I want to have another child here called Tracy, UID2 Tracy. And then we set the value over here, let's say random value, any kind of thing, okay? Now this is bad, but let's just do that so that we know for sure it changes some data over here, okay? So here's my simulator. It will not show anything UI, but when it opens, now you can see that currently nothing changes. It's like not real time at all. Now, if you open up your Xcode, maybe it will give us a clue. So let's open up your Xcode right now. Where's our Xcode? There we go. All right. Now, you see this line over here. It says Instagram UI, which is our app. And then Firebase database, set value, which is the method that we called over here. Or it says failed because permission denied. Only means that we don't have permission to our database reference database yet. Now, in that case, all you have to do is go into your real-time database here, and then it has the rules like that. And then you see that this rules over here, right? It has read auth is not nil. It's not null. It means that nil in script. And then write auth is not null, okay? So it means that the auth here, the user has to be authenticated into the app in order to read and write into the database. So here, instead of that, I'm going to change that into auth equals to null. This is bad, but let's just try it for the sake of testing, okay? And then publish this, and then let's run the app once again. Let's run it once again. Run it. Okay, and then it runs, goes back into the database, and boom! You see this thing? We have the UID2 Tracy and then the random data. So that is how Firebase work. Now in the next section, this is just a very slight introduction. I know it got a little bit long because there's some ideas about Firebase that I cannot get quicker than this. You got to know about this thing. So let's have a practice, will we? Let's have a practice. I want you to set for me, let's delete this thing. We don't want to create that every time. So I want to set for me a key value pairs of media into our database. Okay, so let's say I want to have something like this. Media with the values of something like https://www.google.com, something like this. Can you set this for me using our code that we use in the app delegate? Just set it and then delete it and test it, and make sure put a comment right below this video for me. Let me know how it goes and let me know how you do it. I know it's simple, it's basic, but just participate in the learning journey with me. I appreciate that you are still here. So let's do the code challenge. It's a little one, but let's do it so that you make sure that you get this new information sinking into your brain. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I know I go a little bit further, I know that I go a little bit longer, because that's literally everything you need to know about saving data, references, about Firebase services, all of those stuff. So I hope that you enjoy this lesson. In the next one, we talk about how to create something we call Firebase reference. This is kind of like the address to your Firebase account, Firebase database, so that you can save anything into your Firebase account. So I see you in the next lesson. As always, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas, and contribute to the world.